Get ready for a clash of titans. We have Vasyl Ivanchuk against the legendary Garry Kasparov in a Sicilian Najdorf poisoned pawn variation, an opening famous for pure tactical chaos. The game opens with the classic moves of the Sicilian defense. White grabs space in the center, and Kasparov immediately challenges it, creating the asymmetrical pawn structure that defines this opening. Both players are on familiar ground, and here we go, diving headfirst into the razor-sharp poisoned pawn. Kasparov sends his queen on a daring raid to b2, snatching the pawn but accepting immense risk. This is not for the faint of heart. Ivanchuk immediately challenges the adventurous queen with rook to b1, looking to punish black's audacity, and Kasparov plays the brilliant queen to a3. This is the only square that keeps the queen safe and maintains his advantage. Here's the key idea. If white plays bishop, takes the knight on f6, pawn recaptures, and after bishop to e2, black's pawn to h5 keeps the position incredibly solid. Ivanchuk pushes his f-pawn to f5, cranking up the tension. Kasparov develops his knight to c6, and white captures the pawn on e6. A brilliant recapture from Kasparov. Pawn takes pawn on e6 is a fantastic pawn sacrifice. This move rips open the f-file for his rook and seizes the initiative, putting all the pressure on white. Ivanchuk accepts the challenge. Knight takes the knight on c6, taking the bait, and the excellent pawn takes knight on c6. This was the only move to keep the balance, creating a powerful pawn center and justifying his earlier sacrifice. Both sides now focus on development. Bishops come out, and both kings are castled to safety. Ivanchuk brings his rook to b3, while Kasparov's queen finds a fantastic active square on e5 after a quick check. White's bishops continue to harass the black queen, forcing it back to c5 before Ivanchuk tucks his king safely away on h1. Now Kasparov launches a counterattack. Knight to g4 puts the pressure on, and after white defends, the pawn rams forward to e5, cracking open the center. But here, queen to a5 is a massive blunder from Kasparov. This single move throws away a huge advantage and gives white a completely winning position. The simple queen takes queen on a5, followed by a check on c4, and knight to b6 would have trapped black's bishop and won the game on the spot. But Ivanchuk misses the win. Instead of the decisive queen trade, he plays bishop to c4 with check. This is an inaccuracy that lets Kasparov right back into the game. The missed opportunity was huge. Black's king is forced to step away from the check, landing on h8, a shocking turn of events. Ivanchuk plays pawn, takes knight on g4, a colossal blunder that completely throws away his winning position and hands the game back to Kasparov. Again, trading queens on a5 was the clear path to victory. The chaos continues. Kasparov blunders right back with pawn takes, bishop on f4. He fails to punish white's mistake. The winning move was queen takes the knight on a4, which would have simply won a piece. Another one, Ivanchuk plays knight to b6, and the evaluation swings wildly again. The winning line, for what feels like the 10th time, started with trading queens on a5, and Kasparov misses his winning chance yet again. In this absolute time scramble, he makes a move that gives the advantage right back. The correct move was queen takes the queen on d2, knight takes the rook on a8, bishop takes the pawn on g4, pawn pushes to a4, and after pawn to d5, black wins a full rook. But in the game, Kasparov pushes his pawn to d5, and incredibly, white is winning again. But can white convert? No. Pawn takes pawn on d5 is another mistake in this unbelievable sequence of errors. He had to play queen takes queen on a5 to win, and Kasparov misses the knockout blow again. The path to victory was clear, but instead, he had to play queen takes the queen on d2. After rook to d3, the queen snaps up the pawn on c2. Pawn pushes to d6, and bishop to g5 wins white's queen. But back in the actual game, he simply recaptures with pawn takes pawn on d5, and the advantage swings right back to white. It's almost impossible to believe, but Ivanchuk misses the win once more. The correct move was staring him in the face. He had to play queen takes queen on a5. After pawn takes bishop on c4, knight takes the rook on a8. Pawn takes the rook on b3, and pawn takes pawn on b3 wins a clean rook. But in the game, Ivanchuk plays bishop takes pawn on d5, and now black is the one with the winning position, and the pendulum swings back. With a winning position, Kasparov plays rook to b8, another blunder. He missed queen takes queen on d2, which would have been decisive. Ivanchuk misses it again. He plays knight takes bishop on c8, but that simple crushing queen trade on a5 was still the way to win the game, and Kasparov returns the favor. Rook takes knight on c8 is another mistake. The engine is screaming for queen takes queen on d2, but both players are missing these shots. And here, finally, comes the decisive mistake. With a winning position on the board, Ivanchuk makes a move that gives it all away for good. The winning line, for the last time, was queen takes queen on a5. Rook takes the pawn on c2, queen to e1, bishop to f6, and queen to e4 wins a rook. But instead of that, Ivanchuk plays rook to h3, a massive blunder that gives Kasparov a completely winning position. Incredibly, one more twist. Kasparov plays queen to b6, a shocking blunder that lets white almost completely off the hook. The simple queen takes queen on d2 was the knockout blow, but now the game is nearly equal again. After that absolute storm of blunders, the game finally begins to settle down. Both sides jockey for position, but Kasparov's pieces remain dangerously active as they maneuver around the board. Ivanchuk decides to grab the pawn on h7. It's a risky decision, as it allows Kasparov's remaining pieces to coordinate perfectly for a final assault on the white king. And Kasparov finds the brilliant pawn push to f3, a fantastic move that creates overwhelming and unstoppable threats against the white king. And here's the point. After bishop to e4, the rook crashes into d2, queen to c1, and the pawn push to f2 will be decisive. Ivanchuk recaptures with rook takes pawn on f3, but this is a mistake. It does nothing to contain black's powerful attack, which is now ready to break through, and there it is. The rook infiltrates to d2, putting immense pressure on white's fragile position. The white queen swings over to e4 in a desperate attempt to hold everything together. But Kasparov is relentless. Rook to d1, check. A great move, the only one to maintain the win, initiating the final combination. Ivanchuk finds the brilliant king to h2, a fantastic defensive resource and the only move to prolong the game for another moment. The deadly threat was queen to c1, followed by rook to e8 check, rook takes rook, and queen recaptures on e8 with check, and it's all over. Kasparov plays rook to e1. It's a slight inaccuracy, as queen to c1 was a bit faster, but his advantage remains completely decisive. Ivanchuk offers a queen trade with queen to f5, hoping to relieve the pressure and survive into an endgame. And Kasparov finds the perfect response. Rook takes rook on e6 is a great move, initiating a forced trade. White must recapture with queen takes rook on e6, another only move. And Kasparov completes the sequence with king takes the bishop on h7, liquidating into a completely winning endgame, a clean pawn ahead. White gives one last futile check with queen to e4, but black's king is perfectly safe after the pawn steps up to g6. Ivanchuk's rook to a3 is a mistake in the endgame. This move just allows black to consolidate his position and makes the final conversion even easier. Kasparov steps his king to g7. A tiny inaccuracy, as bishop to f2 was stronger, but the win is never in any doubt. Ivanchuk tries to find some counterplay by giving a few checks with his queen, but black's king is perfectly safe and easily sidesteps any danger. And Kasparov's final move, queen to f6, solidifies the position and neutralizes any and all of white's remaining ideas. Defeat is imminent, and here Ivanchuk resigns. After a wild, chaotic battle full of unbelievable blunders from both sides, he's down a pawn in a hopeless endgame. Kasparov navigated the complications better and takes the win.